All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. All right, this, which came out a number of years ago, not for everybody. This is a little on the dark side. This is Dream Child. Until Death Do We Meet Again. Kind of the brainchild of Craig Goldie, who used to play guitar for Ronnie James Dio. By the way, Craig has some kind of mystery illness, was reported before the new year, so you might want to keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Hopefully he's doing better. But this is really high quality stuff. Dream Child, go look it up. I mean, if you're a fan of Dio or Dio fronted Black Sabbath back in the early 80s when Ozzy left, this really pays homage to that particular style, and it's really well done. So check out Dream Child. All right, in the news, it appears that I don't know if you want to call this a victory for Neal Schon, but it sure looks like a victory. Neal Schon reveals that Steve Perry's lawsuit has been withdrawn. That's regarding the trademark issue. Steve Perry was trying to stop the registration of at least, I think, 10 trademarks that Neal and I thought Jonathan Cain were both doing. I don't know if Neal did this on his own. It's a little fuzzy. I was assuming that both Neal and Jonathan Cain were in on registering these trademarks. So this is kind of good news in the midst of all of these lawsuits. And Neal says, hey, time for coffee. Going back to trying to get Steve Perry to have coffee with him. Hey, it's the 50th anniversary. Let me just say this, put this out there. Maybe Perry would like to be a part of the 50th anniversary. Why not, right? And so if he's making amends with Neal Schon, now Neal can make all of these overtures toward Perry, and this whole situation with him and John seems like a big distraction against a possible Steve Perry Journey reunion. Now, again, I'm very skeptical. I've done full videos as to why this probably isn't going to happen. But, I could be wrong, people. It's not like it hasn't happened before. But this would be monumental. And, Neal Schon is out there saying so much for Jonathan, trying to throw me under the bus, because Cain had made the statement where, Neal was going after Steve Perry by doing the trademark thing. That's why I'm thinking that was maybe Neal and his wife, because Neal always says, look, my wife is helping me, or we've done the research and we've uncovered we're peeling back the onion. Now, to Neal's credit, he did say he was going to be peeling back the onion, and holy crap, Batman, he has been finding a lot of stuff or putting a lot of stuff out there. Whether you agree with what he's doing, the very public approach to these issues, which some of us are just kind of shaking our head and cringing a little bit, because it's just so, like, I've been using the word nuclear or toxic or in your face, or the thing that his wife put out there on Facebook or Instagram or wherever it was, that was like a manifesto, and that had some very detailed information. Now, full disclosure, I know a lot of people don't think I'm connected with anything, and that's fine. It works in my favor, I guess. But I knew about whose name was allegedly on these documents. I knew about that well before the new year. And I was not going to go forward with that. There's just no way I was going to talk about that, especially based on the Steve Lukather portion of that story, which I also knew about. And I was hesitant to put all the details out there. Look, I don't want to make enemies. All right. That's not what I'm trying to do on this channel. I'm actually just trying to report what's happening, and then putting out some commentary with regards to these events. I'm not trying to, throw anybody under the bus. I mean, honestly, I wish all these guys would just get along, but I think we're really past the point of no return when it comes to, the relationship between John Cain and Neal Schon. Now, what's weird is we may not be past the point of no return for the relationship between Steve Perry and Neal Schon. And let's just be honest, Steve didn't have anything nice to say about John when he was doing his whole Traces tour, at least media tour, where he was talking to people, and someone brought up John's book, and Steve kind of had a meltdown. And, he didn't have this same type of reaction to Neal Schon, basically saying, hey, Neal just likes me because he wants to work with me again. But when it came to John Cain, it was a much more visceral reaction toward Cain. Here's the tweet that Neal put out. So much for JC trying to throw me under the bus, as he claimed I was blatantly trying to rip off Steve Perry while collecting the checks for the very diligent work my wife and I did to protect our merch. Time for coffee. It's coffee time. As a fan, even amidst all of this, yeah, I mean, coffee time. I mean, imagine just Perry and Neal, and they have somebody there taking pictures, somebody's on their phone and they're recording them with the coffee. I think it would be a good thing. I don't think it's going to lead to anything. And I'm very skeptical about Steve Perry meeting up with Neal Schon for the coffee, but you're at that point again, and it is the 50th anniversary. So I'm thinking Neal will try again publicly. I thought he had decided he wasn't going to do this anymore, but Perry might be doing this too, because he's thinking, you know what? I don't want to look like I'm in bed with anybody here. In other words, John says that, you're doing this to Steve Perry. And what does Perry do? He withdraws. He says, you know what? I don't want to give them anything to say about me. I don't want them to be using me in their narrative. Like, oh, look what Neal's doing to poor Steve Perry. Now, first of all, it's not poor Steve Perry. Steve Perry is doing just fine, thank you. And he's probably thinking, yeah, I don't need any money from these trademarks for t-shirts. I mean, these guys are going to need money for their legal bills. That's what he's probably thinking, and I don't want to get in the middle of this, because it looks as though Perry, Schon, and Cain people aren't paying attention to all the details. They don't know why these guys are fighting. They just know that it's about money. It's about trademarks. It's about who's getting more revenue from this cash cow that will go on in perpetuity. And Steve Perry probably thinks to himself, you know what? I don't want to be used as a prop by John against Neal. That's what this is. I think he doesn't want to be used in that way. And maybe he and his attorneys sat down and they just said, this isn't really worth it. This isn't going to generate a lot of income for you. So maybe just let them have their little trademarks. And so I think that's what's going to happen here. Neal, by the way, actually posts a copy of the cancellation notice, Steve Perry versus Freedom JN LLC. That's John and Neal, by the way, JN. I mean, what I'm looking at here, it's just like these two guys are fighting like, cats and dogs now, and they're co-owners of this corporation. So in any event, folks, it's sad for the fans who are, serious and have been along since the very beginning with Journey. For the more casual fans, they just want to hear Don't Stop Believin'. Just come out and perform, do the song, bring that Toto guy with you so we could sing Africa. We could sing Africa and Don't Stop Believin', and then we can go home, because that's really all these people really care about. Anyway, I think this is good news. I think this is good news, and it does open up this Steve Perry conversation. And I just don't think Perry would attend the 50th, but, you know, he wasn't going to attend the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, from what I understand, but he changed his tune there toward the end. He didn't perform, but still, him being there, I mean, Steve Perry could show up at a Journey concert with Greg Raleigh on stage. And he wouldn't have to sing. I know that sounds really weird, but he wouldn't have to sing. He would just, you know, add his charisma and probably say a few great things. My guess is he probably would perform. I know they'd have to kind of tune things down for him, but man, oh man, to have Steve Perry and Greg Raleigh on stage, because that's what it looks like. It looks like Greg Raleigh's going to be there. Now, again, I'm just throwing everything out there because why not? Things that I didn't think were going to happen are happening, and vice versa. And so right now, folks, the PR war here, and this is a public relations war between Cain and Schon. I have to say Neal Schon is definitely winning. The whole thing with the playing Don't Stop Believing at a purely political event, it doesn't look good. Even if you're a fan of Trump, it still doesn't look good. Sorry, because half the country doesn't like Trump, and most people want their, you know, bands not to be too political. Most people. And in the case of Journey, Journey is not expected to be political or using the song in a religious context. That's not helping the situation either. A lot of people are just like, you know what, just let me keep my memories of what that song meant to me when I was, 16 years old and I heard it for the first time. That's kind of where most people are. So in any event, I think Neal has a big victory here, and he'll probably take several victory laps because, he really enjoys doing this on social media. And we'll see what happens next. I'm sure more is to come. We are in the new year now, and that tour is starting, I think, next month, early next month. I'll keep you posted. Again, one more time on Dreamchild, a little darker, super well-produced hard rock, much in the vein of Ronnie James Dio and that Black Sabbath lineup from the early 80s. And there are some other influences on this. The artwork is stellar on this. I actually have the vinyl. That's how much I like the album, and I was very much into the artwork and stuff. It's a little creepy and dark, but if you're putting out stuff that sounds like Black Sabbath and Dio, that's the way I guess you have to go. So, all right, folks, again, thanks for watching. You could subscribe, and also don't forget about memberships here on YouTube and Patreon for $1 a month, $2 a month. I know things are tough out there. We're in a new year. And I endlessly complain about how many people support the channel that way versus how many people watch the channel. I'm grateful for the viewership. If you want to put these videos on repeat play, that's always helpful too. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon as the journey turns.